Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now November 2nd of 2024, and given that the Walt Disney Company and all of its divisions are going through a phase of panic essentially right now, we know that Lucasfilm is in shambles, Marvel Studios is trying to find their way for how to properly make 2025 into a very successful year. So far, so not so good, with Captain America 4's test screenings, failure after failure, but most of all, we have Snow White, the live-action remake that falls under the live-action department over at the Disney Company. We know that this movie is in shambles as well. After 6 whole test screening failures, we have those out there like Rachel Zegler, Greta Gerwig, as well as Mark Webb, the director, really going into full-on damage control about this film, and Zegler is at it yet again, with just a couple of months to go until the actual marketing campaign kickstarts for this movie. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she is very self-absorbed as a person. We know that she is overly demanding. This is exactly why many have labeled her as difficult to work with behind the scenes for this actual film in particular. But what's interesting about this has a lot more to do with the fact that we also have a lot of things going on with the promotional aspects of this film, right? The marketing campaign. We're right now in the very early stages of that because reshoots are still looming for this December. Next month. Crazy, I know how fast time flies. But what's interesting about this has a lot more to do with Zegler attacking the general public yet again and addressing the ongoing Snow White boycott and what's been going on there. Let's discuss. Now, specifically with the Walt Disney Company now in a state of panic after many of their divisions have been failing one after the other, one monumental development going on currently has more to do with Rachel Zegler and the ongoing Snow White 25 drama. Now, Zegler delivered the following in response to the Snow White boycott and more to do with the challenges that they actually face. One of the greatest things about Snow White is that this is a woman's tale. This is her story about empowerment and strength, and how we can display one's journey without necessarily needing your traditional prince or man to guide you along the way. This is a film that needed to be produced to really address the lack of attention that women get for their bravery and the risks that they take in their lives. And that's the most important part of this story to me. I'm seeing comments left and right that they are so ridiculous that families don't want to see this film, all because we embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we changed Snow White's origin story. It's just flat out ridiculous and immature, to say the least, and I don't think I would really want viewers like that anyway to witness the hard work that we are all putting into this project to hopefully get this out there to the majority of those around the world. I think people need to be taught a lesson outright, a lesson about women and their bravery, and that's what this is about. I mean, if you have husbands and boyfriends or significant others that don't want to watch this film with you, I think that says a lot about how our world works. Snow White got her name in this film because she survived a snowstorm, and shows you how powerful of a woman that she can be. I come from different ethnic backgrounds, and I thought as well, as Greta did, that it was important for a new iteration of Snow White to be represented. It had to be done. It has been long overdue for those to get the representation that they need to step into the limelight. I'm noticing that there are not just men opposed to DEI in both film and television, including this film, but also women. And I think the greatest problem that we face is that there are some women out there that fall for the toxic male demographic that we see in almost every franchise now, or a film that's embedded in pop culture. So guys, let me stop here for a moment about Rachel Zegler really giving men and women now pretty much a lesson, quote unquote, that you can't think for yourselves. This is basically the message that she's throwing out there, that the women that are following the so-called toxic male demographic can't think for themselves and they can't follow their own instincts or have an opinion. Look, there are many women as well as men that do not like all of this nonsense being spewed out from the film industry, from Hollywood, as well as the Hollywood bubble, whatever you want to call it. Everything that's being done that's driven by an ideology or an agenda or anything like that is rejected by both men and women. That's just a given fact, alright? and it's growing in numbers every single month. It's getting stronger and stronger, and that's why you're slowly but surely beginning to see a lot of these organizations and studios beginning to close their DEI departments. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Boeing is about to do that. But there's a lot of things going on with Hollywood. A lot of studios don't want to let go of their DEI departments. They don't want to actually diminish that at all, and Disney is one of them. This is exactly why they hired a brand new DEI advisor or supervisor for 2025. It's going to pay them roughly $200,000+ a year. Crazy, I know. But here you have it again, Rachel Zegler really getting caught up in this rant, if you will, and really beginning to realize that this film may very well not resonate with the majority of people around the globe. And she noticed how she said she hopes that this movie reaches to everybody around the world. It almost sounds like she knows that there's a good possibility that this thing may either go directly to streaming or just canceled outright. And we talked about this, that this is indeed an actual discussion that's being tossed around between Bob Iger, the Disney Board of Directors, the executives over there. It's a possibility, it's not concrete just yet, but it is and has been discussed about canceling this movie and, or at the very minimum, just not releasing it in theaters and just throwing it on Disney Plus instead. So I think that they're still gonna drop this thing in theaters. That's my gut instinct. That's my gut feeling, if you will. I believe that they will get this thing done and they will debut it on March of next year. It's gonna be quite a show to see what this is going to look like once it releases and how terribly received it will be, because we all know what's been going on behind closed doors based on the test screenings, based on how naive a lot of these cast and crew members really are. So, continuing on, she goes on to conclude, you just have to find a way to deal with it and call it out and address just how immature it really all is. Many keep saying that we have an agenda with this film. Well, if you mean us embracing DEI as an agenda, then I think people need to look at themselves in the mirror to see how they can improve themselves in this world, to better understand the importance of DEI and how it's really not any kind of an ideology. It's just common sense. That's all it is. That's all it ever will be. It was always our goal to take a close look at the concept of DEI and how we can take away the stigma from that in Snow White, and how Disney is really trying to do this with other upcoming feature films. It's just a challenge. So, she's saying that DEI is common sense, that DEI is not an agenda. We all know exactly that's a bold lie right there. That is a flat out lie. We all know through the leaked Zoom call by the Walt Disney Company that they listed everything about they want X amount of people here, a percentage amount of people there to be cast in the movies, just for the sake of doing so. That's an agenda. When you're doing that above proper storytelling, above creating an entertaining story, that's an agenda, alright? It's the hard truth, I know, to these people, but it's true. You know, when you're focusing on one thing above the other, especially if it has a lot to do with disassociating it from the story, that's an agenda in the film industry. That's the epitome of the definition of it. So, overall, I think that this movie is not looking good so far behind closed doors. I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.